The Liberator GP10 was made in 2023 by MicroStar International, who is better known by the name MSI. It is a PC-compatible programmable foot controller. The project started as a successful Kickstarter campaign in 2022, where it raised almost $200,000. The Liberator is marketed as a foot pedal. The controller lacks a large pivoting surface though, and is not actuated by pressing down the ball, sole or instep using the heel as a center of rotation. Instead, the middle button has to be actuated with the toes. That's why I will refuse to call the Liberator a pedal in this review. On the two sides are additional buttons, which actuate Kale, white chalk low profile clicky keyboard switches. While these are respectable switches, it's in contradiction to MSI's claim to use on-run switches. Just the middle button uses one, but more frustratingly, MSI doesn't use the exact model they claim to do, but the high force counterpart, which demands twice the actuation force. It's very hard for me to understand why somebody would go out of their way to cover such hardware detail in their marketing, just to not deliver on the promises in a manner which instantly can be debunked. But I digress. The actuator on the side buttons carry two neodymium magnets, which bind to swappable magnetic covers that effectively act as spacers to narrow the gap between switch and foot. These spacers are made of rubber and therefore catch dust well. 3 different sizes of spacers are delivered with the Liberator. I like this system, but I found that the longer spacers cause binding issues if pressed off-center. That might be the reason why MSI chose a very narrow opening angle of just 30 degrees of arc. Sadly, this makes this control hard to use for adult men, which ironically are the target audience. I have a shoe size US 13, and if I put my heel to the start of the slope, my foot already presses both side buttons, even without any spacer attached. To remedy this, I would just map functions to the middle button and ignore the 2 side buttons, or shift my foot further down the slope. The latter is problematic though, as the Liberator is not a proper pedal, but a toe switch. If I go more to the front, I have to use my ball to press the switch, while the instep and sole rest on a static non-pivoting surface, which demands me to claw my foot. This is not just inconvenient, but also considerably slower than using a real pedal. The super narrow opening angle of the Liberator won't be a problem of course for children, ladies and men with very small feet. In April 2023, MSI admitted the design flaw and announced to offer do-it-yourself kits soon to remedy the issue. But seeing the pictures of the new actuator prototypes, which are now all of a sudden angled, makes me question whether MSI understands the issue. No matter what, each actuator just can be shortened another 2 mm before it vanishes into the cavity and gets inaccessible. This reduction won't make a world of a difference. The Liberator is pretty tall, which causes the player's hip to rotate because the passive foot rests significantly lower. The build quality of the Liberator is great. It is very sturdy and doesn't flex. Together with the weights in its base, the rubber feet do a great job of keeping the controller from slipping around on the floor. The Liberator is easy to open, consists of modular parts, and I consider it to be mod-friendly. Under the outer opaque ring are RGB lights which can be set up via the control software. Rainbow color animations and breathing effects are available. In the center is a big backlit logo plate, the color of which can be changed too, but not animated. The Liberator is a wired controller and has no wireless capabilities. On the front are 2 USB-C sockets. The spare socket serves as an USB pass-through. Besides other devices, up to 4 Liberators can be daisy-chained. My unit came shipped with a 2.6 meters USB-C to C cable and a USB-C to A adapter. My PC didn't recognize the Liberator without running the control program at least once, and therefore I think doing so distributes drivers. In software, the color and brightness of the lights can be set up. Furthermore, the tempo of the animations can be tweaked. Besides affecting the lights, the software lets the player change the key bindings to mouse and keyboard functions. Buttons can be set up normally or as turbo buttons, which periodically fire fresh consecutive inputs when remaining pressed. For each button, macros can be assigned. The key bindings can be saved to profiles to keep things organized. In the non-erasable default profile, the Liberator is set up as a mouse without tracking. Sadly, the Liberator itself doesn't sport a dedicated button to swap between profiles and instead relies on the control program for that. To test the performance of the Liberator, I played Pixel Crisis, which is a Time Crisis-inspired game that I have covered in episode 213. Pedal controllers are essential for the Time Crisis series with its duck-to-dodge mechanic, and I thought it would be a good fit. The game really showed the ergonomic shortcomings of the Liberator towards an adult man. Compared to using proper pedal controllers, I got hit significantly more. Even after time to get used to the necessary foot movement and stance, I failed to dodge bullets duly. It went so far that I started to lose trust in the electronics inside the Liberator and decided to make some latency measurements. I remembered that MSI bragged on Kickstarter that the Liberator was one of the fastest pedal controllers in existence, while stating that the latency was 100 milliseconds, which would be a terrible performance by any definition and in fact one of the slowest simple peripheries to have ever existed. It would be hard, even to a novice, to build something with such a high latency. Even the $3 microcontroller, which I have shown in episode 237, is way faster. Many people thought the 100 milliseconds had to be a typo of the marketing team and challenged the claim. To measure the latency, I removed the guts and soldered an LED to the signal path. If the button is idle, the diode is lit, but if the button is pressed, the diode is off. I connected my computer in a low latency manner to a 240 fps display and filmed the scene with a 260 fps camera. I then counted the frames between the light going out and the Liberator controlled on-screen event. To my great surprise, the arithmetic average was indeed astonishing 101 milliseconds. More interestingly though, my measurements form two value clusters, one at 77 milliseconds and one at 126 milliseconds, which indicates to me that a large factor of this otherworldly latency might be in fact a 50 milliseconds poll rate. If true, this would be just as ridiculous as the latency itself. To illustrate how much 100 milliseconds of latency are, let's take a look at the testing repository of rthings.com, where over 288 mice were tested. None of the wired mice are as slow as the Liberator is. With 39 milliseconds, the highest latency mouse on rthings is still twice as fast as the Liberator, and is faster even than the Liberator's proposed poll rate. Personally, I don't like the Liberator. I am very disappointed that it's not actually a pedal, and yet worse that it doesn't fit my foot. Because it is mod friendly, I could easily remove the internals and install literally anything else to improve its terrible performance, but given the Liberator's shape, I don't have any motivation to do so. For gaming, I still prefer my Time Crisis arcade pedal, which I have shown in episode 201, and considering the Liberator's $200 price tag, I don't think it's an unfair comparison. I would have appreciated if the Liberator had a TRRS socket with direct access to the switches, allowing the Liberator to pair with any externally switchable controller. That would have solved the lag issue too. I have to admit that the Liberator looks nice and is built well. Considering its user-friendly programmability, I could see the controller being used as accessibility tool for disabled and injured people as a hand controller. This use case is of course just valid for slow-paced games, as for the one-of-a-kind latency.
Match the speed of high-performance gaming mice with blazing 100 millisecond response times.
The package, which went to Kickstarter supporters, was a real joy to unbox. Inside a very sturdy, printed cardboard shipping box came the retail box of the Liberator itself, which is held shut by a black obi. When opening the inner box, a stencil unfolds. The Liberator itself is stored in a polypropylene dust cover bag. The manual is multi-language and came with an embossed card showing a message from the product manager. This is the end of the review. My name is Ben. I thank you for viewing.